Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. So in all these verses of Saddarshanam, Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi stresses the importance of ahankara vichara that will lead us to that sad adhishthanam, that will lead us to that support, which is Brahman. When one arrives at Brahman, that Sat Vastu, then the Dvaita Prapancha, all world of plurality, the world of plurality will be falsified. Once you see the substratum, everything that is playing on that substratum will become false. The entire world of duality, plurality will be reduced to just nama, rupa, names and forms. That's all. Thus, aham, ahankara, that will also be reduced to nama, rupa. And also the idam jagat. That also, the world also will be reduced to names and forms. The final destination is that Sad Brahma. That is why ahankara vichara is important. Yes, before the start of the class, we were talking about the Ishvara vichara, the Jagat vichara. That will also lead to the adhisthana, no question about it. But among the three, the ahankara vichara is most powerful. So when we talk about all this, naturally the question comes again and again in all these discussions, especially when we are talking at this level. Those who are doing other sadhanas like snana, dana, japa, tapa, bhakti, karma, karma yoga, and all those sadhanas are there. Those spiritual practices are there. What about them? So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi takes up that question. It's kind of a little bit detour, slight detour to address this question. Otherwise, Bhagavan is, so pointed into this Saddarshanam, this Atma Vichara, but here he takes a rare diversion. Just for one verse, and then he'll come back to Ahankara Vichara, Atma Vichara. So we'll look at verse number 10, very important verse, no doubt. Bhavantu saddarshana-sādhanāni parasya nāmākṛtibhiḥ saparyāḥ sadvastuni prāpta-tadātma-bhāvā niṣṭhaiva-saddarśanamityavehi. Look at that. Bhavantu saddarshana-sādhanāni parasya nāmākṛtibhiḥ saparyāḥ sadvastuni prāpta-tadātma-bhāvā niṣṭhaiva-saddarśanamityavehi. So Ramana Maharshi says in the first line, may one go through other sadhanas. In the previous verses, Bhagavan said, ahankara vichara should lead to ahankara adhisthana. Inquiry into the ego should lead you to where that ego is supported. And that was Sat Brahma Nishtha. It should lead to Adhisthana Jnanam, knowing the support, the Brahma Jnanam. which is otherwise called Brahmanishta. So this alone is Saddarshanam. So in the second line, Bhagavan points out that the aim of Ahankara Vichara is Saddarshanam, the knowledge of Sat. What is that Sat? It is that Brahman. What is Brahman? It is Ahankara Adhishthanam. It's a support of that Ahankara. So Ahankara Vichara should lead to Ahankara Adhisthana, Sad Brahma Jnanam, and that is what we will call Saddarshanam, knowledge of reality, knowledge of the truth. So when we use all these words, Saddarshanam, Brahma Jnanam, etc., one may mistake that it is a jnanam in which that Brahman is an object. Be very careful in this. We are getting into subtler and subtler ideas. When we talk about the knowledge of anything, let us say knowledge of this chair, we know I am the knower and the chair is the object. So there is a subject-object division. Similarly, with this kind of a mindset that we have of knowing everything as an object, we may make the mistake. This Brahma Jnanam also is a knowledge of an object called Brahman, in which we will have an experience and see Brahman face to face. Just like we see the various objects in front of us. One may think that way. One may think that the Brahman also has to be objectified. So to remove this possible misconception, Bhagavan says, Brahma Jnanam is Brahma Nishtha. So knowing Brahman is abiding in Brahman. So Saddarshanam is Nishtha. Nishtha means abidance. Niṣṭhaiva-saddarśanam. That is what Nishtha means. Clear abidance in Brahman is called Brahma Jnanam, Saddarshanam. Therefore, he says, sadvastuni. In Sat, which is the vastu. In Vedantic parlance, vastu means reality. When we speak commonly, vastu means anything. But in Vedantic terms, vastu is the only thing that is. Vasati sarvada abhātitattaya trikāle api vasati asti iti vastu. The root, the dhatu for that vasati is vasu means to exist, to stay, to remain. So vastu is that which always is, which always remains. Everything else will get negated in the wake of knowledge. The only thing that remains is Brahman. So that alone is called vastu. So sadvastu means Brahman. Sadvastuni, in that real Brahman, abiding in that Brahman is Saddarshanam. This is Brahma Jnanam. It is not, Brahma Jnanam is not a knowledge of Brahman. Don't think of it that way. So you have to remove that kind of idea, to remove that problem that one may have in thinking that knowledge of Brahman as objective knowledge, we introduce the term Brahma Nishtha, abidance in Brahman. So this creates another problem. I am here somewhere and Brahman is out there elsewhere as a chair or a sofa, and I have to sit in it. That also is possible. Again, we will think Brahman is a substratum underneath and Jivatma has to withdraw from the world and sit on Brahman or sit down deep in Brahman, all that idea. So we have to remove all such misconceptions. So Brahmajnanam should be understood properly. Brahmanishtha, abidance in Brahman, should be understood properly. So Ramana Maharshi defines what is Brahmanishtha. He defines it as prāpta-tadātma-bhāvā. Prāpta-tadātma-bhāvā. Nishtha, abidance, is a state of knowledge. What type of knowledge is it? Tadātma. Tat, that means that Brahman, sadvastu, and Atma is the self, I. So that Brahman, I am. So this itself, prāpta-tadātma-bhāvā, that is a Brahma Mahavakya. And that Brahman I am. The Mahavakya is any statement that reveals that truth. So Bhagavan is actually giving us a Mahavakya here. So that Brahman is not something out there for me to stay in. It is not an object in front of me as an experience, but Brahman is me. Tadatma, tad eva atma. Brahma eva aham. That only that Brahman is my own self. Iti bhavaha. That jnanam, that understanding, that Brahman alone am I. That is the state of knowledge. That is the state of wisdom. And that is a state of effortless knowledge. Prāpta, acquired through ahankara vichara. So saddarśanam is abidance in Brahman, which is a state one enjoys. Enjoys the knowledge that I am Brahman, and that one has gained through inquiry into who am I. See, the beauty of this is a state of knowledge is always available once you get the knowledge. Once you get the knowledge, it is always with you. One state of experience, on the other hand, a state of experience always will be replaced by another state of experience. A sukha anubhava, a happy state of experience, will be replaced by dukkha anubhava. You sit down for a 3-course meal. When you finish the first course of your meal and you start the second course, the experience of the first course gone. You are experiencing the second course. So experience can be displaced, but knowledge doesn't ever get displaced. Simple example only I'll give you. Suppose you know your friend's phone number. That cannot be replaced by your knowledge of his address. Both things you can know. You will still know the phone number. when he gives you his address. That is the nature of knowledge. That is why we always work for a state of knowledge. And don't think that you are going to be thinking of that. Whatever knowledge you have, you are going to be thinking about it all the time. Then how do you know you have the knowledge? You know you have the knowledge. You are in that state of knowledge because it is accessible to you. You know your name. You don't have to keep repeating your name. Don't think Jnani is always repeating Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. He doesn't have to do that. Once a knowledge is gained, no repetition is required. It is just available all the time. So this is what we call niṣṭha. Niṣṭha is a state of understanding that is there all the time. So a Jnani in that abidance is going through his life. He is going about every day of his life, established in the truth, in that reality. You don't have to constantly remember or remind yourself that you are a father or a mother, a husband or a wife, man or a woman. That knowledge is always there. Knowledge is effortlessly accessible and invoked wherever, whenever needed. So Atma-jnanam, Brahma-jnanam is also effortlessly available once gained and invoked at the right time. So Brahma-niṣṭha is Jnana-niṣṭha. That Jnanam is that Brahman is me. Now comes a question. Is this Vichara Marga or Jnana Yoga? Is it easy or difficult? Many people say it is very, very difficult. And there are others who say, no, it's not all that difficult. And some people say it's so easy. If you look at Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's life, it was so easy for him. So we wonder, if you want to find out what scriptures say, okay, there again you find conflicting statements. Kathopanishad says, Shurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. The wise say that the path is like walking on the sharp edge of a razor. Difficult to cross and hard to tread. That's what is said in the Upanishad. In other places, it is said Jnana Yoga is very easy. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in the 9th chapter, Raja Vidya, that Jnana Yoga is susukham kartum abhyayam. Susukham, so easy. So there is confusion. Is it difficult or is it easy? It depends, as always. For whom is it easy and for whom is it difficult? I tell you, for some, even sitting down and getting up is difficult. Walking is easy for some, and for others it is difficult. For that circus act, the tightrope walking, so easy seemed to be for that girl. But then, for this guy who had had one too many, even walking, he can't walk straight. It all depends who is walking. The one who is prepared will find a task easy. One who is not prepared will find the same task difficult. So, Who is prepared for vichara marga?
Karma yoga.
A sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha. That's what we have defined. Somebody who is qualified. One who has the fourfold qualification. At least to some extent. He is an adhikari. And jnana yoga is for him. So he has to have jnana yogyata. That yogyata he gets through, as someone was saying, through karma yoga. Then he becomes a qualified person. So when you look at the world, the fact is, not too many people have such qualifications that are necessary for vichara. The most important qualification is detachment, transcending likes and dislikes. One of the primary conditions. Sri Krishna repeats again and again in Gita so many times. Vitaraga vayakrodha, kama krodha, viyuktanam, and so on. So many places. Give up desire, give up anger, give up likes and dislikes. Not that easy, most people. So most people are not ready. That is why Vedas do not present Jnana Yoga as a beginning sadhana. Jnana is the purview of Vedanta, not the Purva Bhaga of Vedas. So a good chunk of Vedas is only Karma Kanda. So many rituals are prescribed. So that you go through all that, you go, or whatever appeals to you, develop the Jnana Yogyata. Otherwise, Jnana Vichara is not easy. So, we will not say, do not go to the temple, do not do pujas, they are not necessary. Just sit down and ask, who am I? We don't say that. Not at all. And that will be bad advice. That will not work. And Bhagavan strongly warns against it. You all know, listen to Gita. And Arjuna, that's what he wanted to run away. And right after Bhagavan Sri Krishna talked so gloriously about knowledge in the second chapter, beginning of third chapter, he wanted to run away. So Sri Krishna pulled him back, said, hey, wait a minute, you're not ready. Can't run away. You first have to act, and I'll tell you how to act. Karma Yoga Bhava, you gain that eligibility first. So, before coming to vichara or inquiry, a person has necessarily, he has to follow a religious life. Be in Dvaitam before coming to Advaitam. This question, again and again, most of you have asked this over the various texts we have studied. You're always talking about Advaitam, 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 but there's so much of Dvaitam there. So the advice is be in Dvaitam. Get ready, get prepared, and then graduate to Advaitam. Before you come to Nirguna Atma, you be in Saguna Atma. This is very, very important. Do not forget this. Many people miss this. Either they ask the question, so much talk about all this. The Bhakti Shastra has this so explicitly. Dvaitam is there. Why are they talking about this? Is it all a waste? Or since they speak so gloriously, I will be in Dvaitam all the time. What we are saying is, that is important. That prepares you. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi here says very clearly, saparyāḥ bhavantu. Lead a religious life that includes worship, all that bhakti. puja. Saparyāḥ means puja. Even though we know Dvaitam is mithya, even though we know this puja is mithya, even though we know that the performer of puja is also mithya. Knowing all this, knowingly Shastra says, may you remain in mithya until ahankara becomes mature enough to fall down. Plucking a raw fruit from a tree and trying to ripen it outside does not work well as compared to leaving it in the tree to ripen and then taking the fruit when it is ripe. Sometimes we want to buy mangoes, ripe mango, and sometimes we do not know. Sometimes the mango is ripe, it looks green, but it is pretty ripe, and sometimes otherwise it's raw. Taking that raw mango and trying to ripen it. We try all these different tricks. I don't know whether you're familiar. We put it in, back home, we get rice in big barrels. So put it in there 2-3 days or something. I don't know how long, I forgot. Then it can ripen. That is all a difficult way to get that done. On the other hand, if it ripens right in the tree, urva rukamiva bandhanāt. So, once it is ripe, even if you do not do anything, it will fall. So, Dvaitam will slowly lose its charm once ahankara matures. That Veda Bhavana will mature and give way to Abheda Bhavana. Don't force it. So Bhagavan says here, saparyāḥ bhavantu. Do puja. Never criticize puja or people who do pujas. Go to the temple. Practice all religious sadhanas. Do not think that you can transcend Dvaita in the beginning itself. Just because you come to these classes and you hear all that. You're getting the knowledge, no question about it. But those sadhanas are important. We're also seen in Upadesha-sara, Bhagavan talks about various sadhanas. Puja, japa, everything. So, puja of what? Parasya, of the Supreme only, Brahman. But how to do the puja? Because that Brahman is nirguna, nirakara. The puja of Brahman, the nirguna, nirakara, it is formless, it has no attributes. What can you worship? So you can worship only in saguna form with attributes, nāmākṛtibhiḥ, nama rupa sahita Brahma only, with name and form. In the form of your Ishtadevata, your personal God, Ishvara Rupena, in God form. That is the way you have to do it. Okay? Does not matter. Do it. And then don't find fault with somebody has a different personal God. That is another problem. I am a Rama Bhakta, I am a Krishna Bhakta. That is the only. That also don't have a fanatical attitude. You have a Ishtadevata, you have a personal God, you do the puja, everything. Why do you do that? What is the purpose? They are all for saddarshana-sādhanāni. These are all means to gain, make you ready for that saddarshanam. All means for nirguna jnanam. Saguna puja you do, so that is a means for nirguna jnana. At the same time, he gives a warning. Dvaita puja is an important means, Saguna puja is a significant means, but never take Dvaitam as the end in itself. This is very important. Bhakti is great, no question about it. Bhakti is great. Doing the puja, being devoted to Bhagwan, dependence on Bhagwan, everything is good. But at the same time, understand that is not an end in itself. You have to go beyond. You have to go beyond puja. But use puja to go beyond puja. Use Dvaitam to reach Advaitam. We've seen these examples even before in other contexts. Puja Gurudev's famous example of using the pole vaulter using the pole, and then when he's ready to jump over the bar, he has to drop that pole. Same way, all these are wonderful techniques. That is what is so great about the Hindu way of life. So many things have been designed, but we need a proper understanding. All these are rooted in Dvaitam only. All these sadhanas necessarily have to be Dvaitam. Use that. Prepare your mind. Prepare yourself. Use Dvaitam to reach Advaitam. Use Saguna to be Nirguna. Use Karma to go beyond Karma. Very important point. You cannot skip. As I have said a few times already, without jnanam, all these sadhanas are incomplete. Without these sadhanas, jnana is impossible. So you have to use both. So what is the connection between puja and vichara? Vichara, when we say vichara, inquiry, that is also a sadhana. Puja, that is also a sadhana. What is the difference between the two? So, only slight difference. Puja is the remote or indirect means. In vichara, we will call it as a proximate or direct means. Sakshat. Puja is parampara sadhana, step by step. All these sadhanas, in Dvaitam, they prepare you. And then there's a next step. Vichara is sakshat sadhana. In other words, puja, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, all those are preparatory means that will help you in vichara. Vichara will help you directly in gaining jnana and moksha. Having said that, again a note of caution. But don't jump into that if you're not ready. Yes, vichara is sakshat sadhana, no question about it. That's a direct means. But you may not be ready. Very important. Preparation is also as important. So Veda Purva, the early portions of Vedas, deal with all this. Rituals, puja. yaga, yajnad, everything. So Veda Anta, the latter part of Veda, deals with vichara. A religious life will lead you to philosophical inquiry. Philosophical inquiry will lead you to liberation. This clarity is given in this verse. And so this is a very important verse. Okay, continuing verse number 11. Dvandvāni sarvāṇyakhilāstripuṭyaḥ kiñcitsamāśritya vibhānti vastu tanmārgaṇe syād galitaṁ samastaṁ paśyatāṁ saccalanaṁ kadāpi. Together. Dvandvāni sarvāṇyakhilāstripuṭyaḥ kiñcitsamāśritya vibhānti vastu tanmārgaṇe syād galitaṁ samastaṁ paśyatāṁ saccalanaṁ kadāpi. So now coming back to the original track after a short detour about sadhanas, indicating the role of other sadhanas like puja, bhakti, japa, tapa, etc., etc. We come back to vichara. Okay? The entire cosmos that we experience is nothing but Brahman with name and form. One Brahman appears as the manifold universe with many, many nama-rupa names and forms. Sometimes we look at the world as dvandva, subject and object. Sometimes we look at the world as triputi, subject, object, and the linking instrument. But the fact is, really there is only one Brahman with different nama-rupa. Of this, the Brahman part is Satyam, and the Nama-rupa, name and form part is Mithya. Therefore, the entire world, universe, cosmos is a mixture of Satyam, Brahma, and the Mithya, Nama-rupa. So, everything is Satya, Mithya, mixture. So, you never experience pure Brahman because pure Brahman is never an object of experience. And pure Mithya also you cannot experience because it does not exist. That's the definition. So, whatever we experience is neither 100% Mithya, meaning Mithya separate from Satyam, nor 100% Satyam. Whatever we experience is adulterated. Satya, Mithya, mixture only. If there is mixture everywhere, the very I, Aham, is also a mixture of Satya, Atma and Mithya, Ahankara. Therefore, whenever we talk of self-inquiry, the inquiry into I, a mixture of Atma and Ahankara. That is what we are going to inquire into. That is why in the Shastra we use the word Viveka as opposed to Vichara. A little bit better term. Viveka means sorting out. The Satyam and Mithya are all mixed together. So we need to sort it out. So using the word, using the Viveka word indicates something is mixed up. We have to sort it out. We have to sort out the Satya and Mithya parts. Atma Ahankara Viveka is self-inquiry. Since that I is a fixture of both, sometimes self-inquiry is termed Ahankara Vichara also. Sometimes it is called Atma Vichara. So Atma Vichara is looking into Ahankara Vichara, negating that. So Atma Vichara is a more appropriate for two reasons. The first reason is inquiry into Mithya will not lead you anywhere. Mithya is indeed anirvachaniyam. We talked about this word anirvachaniyam sometimes last class in relation to a question that was brought about. So too much into that you will get lost. Therefore Shastra gives a warning. Don't inquire too much into Mithya. We also touched upon this idea earlier before the class started about the Jagat inquiry. Jagat is basically Mithya, and inquiry, any amount of Mithya, will not be that fruitful. Therefore, Mithya investigation should not be our aim. That is what the material scientists, they go through a lot of pain doing that. They will make some progress, no question about it, but that is not the ultimate. So, Atma Vichara, Satya Vichara alone will take you somewhere. This is one reason. And the second reason is that very Mithya is nourished by the ignorance of Satyam only, because Mithya means error. It is unreal, false entity. It is the ignorance of the rope that produces the snake, nourishes the snake, and so you never attack the snake directly. Okay? Any amount of, you see a snake and you want to beat it to death, any amount of that will not help you. But throw some light on the rope, then the snake will disappear and you will see the rope. And ignorance of the rope can be removed only by the knowledge of the rope. Rope knowledge is gained by rope inquiry, not snake inquiry. Once you have the knowledge of the rope, inquiry into the snake becomes irrelevant. So the vichara is always adhisthana vichara. It will lead to adhisthana jnana. All the discussion about the origin of the universe becomes moot. The other approach is also taken in Shastra. In how the whole world came into being and all that. But that is an indirect approach. Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi is always for the direct approach. So Jagat Vichara is not the aim of Vedantic student. Jagat Vichara should be understood as Jagat Adhisthana Brahma Vichara. For inquiry into Atman Brahman alone, it will negate the Mithya Dvandva and Mithya Triputi. Atma Vichara will lead to Atma Jnanam. This is the immediate consequence. Atma Jnanam will lead to the destruction of Atma Ajnanam, that leads one to all the errors committed with regard to Atma. That is technically called Adhyasa. So thus Atma Ajnana Nasha will lead you to Adhyasa Nasha. The superimposition will be destroyed. So this is the journey. Error born out of Atma Ajnanam is Ahankara. The false I is born out of the ignorance of the real I. So Vichara will lead to Atma Jnanam, and that culminates in Ahankara Nasha. Thus the final benefit of Atma Vichara is Mithya Ahankara Nasha. The false Ahankara is destroyed by inquiring into Atma. That is the substratum of false Ahankara. Once the false Ahankara is destroyed, all duality is destroyed, all dvandvāni, sarvāṇi, subject-object duality, which is based on this Ahankara alone, and all akhilāstripuṭyaḥ, the triad, the subject-object instrument, or you want to call Jiva Jagat Ishvara. All that is based on Ahankara alone, that also will be destroyed. All the duality in the triad are errors, like the rope snake. All of them are supported by Atma. Therefore, he says, dvandvāni, sarvāṇi, all pairs, subject object, and akhilaha triputyaḥ, all the triads consisting of subject object instrument, samāśritya vibhānti. They are all unreal entities. Being unreal, they require something real as a substratum. The unreal dream requires the waker. The unreal mirage waters needs the real desert sand. The unreal snake requires the real rope. Similarly, the unreal dvandvāni and the unreal triputyaḥ, they samasritya, depend upon adhisthana, substratum. What kind of substratum is that? Kiñcitvastu, something real. All that unreal things need something real. In this context, they depend on the atma vastu. Here the word kiñcit indicates something indescribable. Some they depend on and they vibhānti, appear, like the dream appears, like the snake appears on the road, like the mirage waters appears on the sand. Similarly, all these ahankara, jiva, jagat, everything, ishvara, they are all experienced upon this adhisthana substratum Brahman, substratum Atma. So if these unreal duality, unreal triads are to be destroyed, if this unreal ahankara has to be destroyed, never attack ahankara. Go to inquiry into the adhisthana, remove the dream. You do not do any activity in the dream. No dream activity will remove dream. You have to wake up. That knowledge alone will destroy the dream. Therefore, he says, tanmārgaṇe, tat-mārgaṇe, adhisthana atma vastu, that reality which supports the duality and the triads, that margana, inquiry, such an investigation, samastaṁ galitaṁ syād, everything will fall down. When you wake up, the entire dream crumbles. You don't have to destroy every object in the dream one by one. Just wake up. None of the dream objects have any independent existence. Tanmārgaṇe, on inquiry, when the knowledge arises, ignorance goes, and then ignorance born false perceptions, duality, everything. Then you are established in adhisthana jnana. Therefore, he says, sat paśyatāṁ. For those who are aware of this adhisthana atma, here sat is dvandva triputi adhisthana atma vastu, saccalanaṁ atma. For the wise, kadāpi chalanam nasti. There is no question of wavering, no question of falling into samsara. As far as I am ahankara, I am liable to fall because it is dependent on so many things for survival. Jnani does not fall. Sri Krishna says in Gita, Gurunapi dukkhena na vichara. Even the most severe sorrow does not affect him. Duality goes away when Atma substratum is investigated and realized. Therefore, Ramana Maharshi advises everyone to do Atma Vichara, Vedanta Vichara, Atma Vichara, under the guidance of a Guru is the way to go about this process. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.